All right, just walked in the door from Texans day one of training camp. Very active day. We'll go in depth on SNL, which you can see here on YouTube, 4 o'clock. Also, the night stream, 10:30. We'll go period by period. So we got you covered. But there were a couple of things that kind of stuck out. We haven't gotten the Texans FTP just yet because practice just ended. But I thought there were two money quotes from two of the faces of the franchise, the two guys that are in charge of building this football team that kind of felt like shots of the two most notorious, most publicized departures from the offseason. Laremy Tunsil, and you can throw Stefon Diggs in there from Nick Caserio, and then Bobby Slowik, everyone's favorite topic.
Damn it, Bobby.
From his boy DeMeco Ryans. I think a lot of times whenever you're complimenting someone or something that's new, a lot of times it ends up kind of being a shot at the former employee, the former player, the former coach. And it felt like this was kind of the case. I'm watching it for the second time with you, and we're kind of making do with what we got. But let's start with DeMeco Ryans. Big Sarge asked him the question by Brian Bearfield about what he likes about Nick Caley's offense. Tell me if everything he likes is everything that people seem to hate about that Bobby Slowik offense. Here's DeMeco Ryans day one of camp.
What excites me most about Caley's offense is that it's evolving and it's being tailored toward the Houston Texans and the guys that we have on our roster. So what excites me the most is not just a copy and paste from other places that he's been, and he's been very successful at other places, but he's been very, very thorough with the installation process of where do we want to put our guys, what position, what's the best spot for our guys to be in. So you look at it through that lens, it's going to be about the Houston Texans. And that's what I love most about the offense is him being able to be adaptable and put our guys where they need to be.
And I think that goes back to what we heard earlier this offseason. This isn't the first time that we've talked about this square peg round hole. And we saw it with Bobby Slowik last year. It was very apparent. Like if Nico Collins was out, they're trying to use Robert Woods like Nico Collins. They didn't really change stuff up. There wasn't much adaptability. And I think that's why from year one to year two, where adaptability is important, I think that's why they kind of fell off. I think DeMeco knows that. And in complimenting Nick Caley, to me, that kind of felt like a little bit of a shot at Bobby Slowik and probably an appropriate one. We all saw it. Like we all saw it. You don't have to lie to us. Like we all saw what it looked like with Bobby Slowik last year.
Damn it, Bobby.
So I have no problem with it. We will see what Nick Caley's offense actually looks like once push comes to shove. But I think there is zero doubt that was definitely kind of a shot at Bobby Slowik from DeMeco Ryans. Then we go to Nick Caserio. Nick Caserio had some interesting things to say. We'll get into on the night stream some of the nerdy stuff that he had to say. I asked him about his involvement in this offense. Also asked him about his thoughts on getting a lot of heat for the way in which he did the Higgins contract. Shots fired at the Wall Street Journal. So we'll get into that. But he was asked by Will Kunkel about the new identity of this team, forming an identity, offensive line, all that. And is this kind of a shot at some guys that maybe left? And naturally, you look at Stefon Diggs, who got hurt, didn't rehab with the team. I think we saw him twice. And there's people who say that there was a little bit of, I don't want to say resentment, but they didn't really appreciate that. Showing up dressed to the nines on Netflix, but not working out in the facility or being around the team. And then Laremy Tunsil. And that's, we've discussed that a lot. But here's what Nick Caserio had to say when Kunk asked him about the identity of the team and all that type of stuff. Here's Nick. I'll let you decide.
Yeah, football is ultimately about the players. So if you have players that walk in the building with that mentality and mindset, I would say, we're very purposeful with the type of people that we bring in the building, because in the end, like, they're the ones that are going to go out there and play. So you win with toughness, you win with physicality, you win with selflessness in this league. So who are the players that have those requisite qualities? We certainly prioritize that. You have to be able to play football. Like, I'm not going to put my head in the sand and be naive to the fact you have to be able to go out there and execute your job and play football. But you can find players who are good at football and have the other traits that we prioritize and covet. So we make a commitment to that. And at times, if you feel like you're going to step outside of that, that's okay. You just want to make sure that you have a reason for doing that. So as long as you have the foundation in place. And again, when people walk in the building and they see Will Anderson, they see Jalen Petrie, they see the approach that those players have, if you walk in and aren't doing the right things, like, everybody's going to know. So that's part of our responsibility. It's something that we emphasize to our scouting staff. And, you know, we have one of the best scouting staffs in the league, fortunate to work with that group on a day-to-day basis. They understand what's important, what we think wins in this league. So we're going to prioritize that, and that's our commitment to doing the right thing. And in the end, it's about doing the right thing by the players.
And there you go. And they prioritized. They traded Laremy Tunsil. They signed, previously mentioned, Jalen Petrie. They signed Derek Stingley. Will Anderson's going to get signed, and that's what they've done. And that's what their actions show. And it seems like that's kind of what the words show. So two of the biggest changes, three if you want to throw Diggs in there, that the Texans have made. And you heard Caserio say sometimes we'll step outside of that box if we have to. I think they did step outside of that box, because some guys are really good at football, as he said, but there's those other things. And sometimes you can pick and choose, but they've chose to move on. And we'll see if it equates to dubs. But I thought these were a couple of the money quotes from the day, if you will. SNL going to be all over it at 4:00, the most in-depth breakdown in the game. There was some interesting stuff that happened on the field as well that we'll go in depth in 10:30 on the stream. Myself and Cody Stutes, we got our obs. We'll also react to the quotes as well. Training camp is here. Football season's here. It was hot as hell, but I'll say this, there's never such thing as a bad day when it comes to football. Subscribe, like, right along. Always remember, let me know if you think that these were shots or not, or I'm making too much of it. Wouldn't be the first time. When it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Appreciate y'all for coming through.